What is up, everyone? My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology, and we are here to do this live show for the Super Bowl. I'm super excited to be here today and very much looking forward to talking about what I've already kind of covered for you all. There is a blog post over at northernastrology.com if you are looking for my full prediction and looking for the full and complete breakdown of today's Super Bowl. So I am going to go ahead and put that in the comments on YouTube, and then hopefully if you guys are watching this via Twitter, you can find it. You know, it's pinned on my Twitter profile. So if you happen to take a break from watching the live stream and want to hop over there and read the Super Bowl prediction, feel free to. I am very much looking forward to having the day to kind of talk about whatever you guys want. You know, I have the game charts pulled up. We have all the charts with the quarterbacks as well as the coaches. So I am very much along the lines of ready to just kind of like wrap up this season. It's been 20 plus weeks of being on camera each week, and I don't know how people do it. I remember my old media career where I was on air on ESPN Kansas City, as well as my podcast and weekly live shows. So I've been doing this for a while. I took a little bit of a break in 2021 and 2022. And in 2023, everything kind of changed for me as far as my astrology practice. I rebranded in 2022, and 2023 just kind of led me into this new era of sports astrology. Hi, Nora. I'm so excited. I got to read your email earlier today, and it made me smile so much. So I'm super looking forward to talking with you, Nora. I just want to say hello. We're doing a live show today. Like, I am actually going to be looking at the chat, interacting with you all. If you have any questions about the Super Bowl, or if you want to pull up a degree in your chart and ask me about it, I have my handy dandy notebook, but it's really the 360 Degrees of Wisdom by Linda Hill. This is pretty much my astrology Bible. As much as the Astrologer's Handbook has been very effective for helping me learn and understand astrology, I have developed my own practice over the years, and over the last 5 years have been really pushing towards understanding sports astrology and what makes athletes great. Hin Yu says, it's three-peat day. I absolutely agree with you. I have been witnessing some severe karmic actions happening from the Philadelphia Eagles fan base. Really, like, I've been seeing just some nonsense happening, but it's Philly. They're not known for having nice fans, although for some reason they like tried to go on this PR run after one of their fans was called out for calling a woman a horrible name in the stands. I guess they're trying to be like, no, we're the city of brotherly love. Everyone loves us. And I'm like, have you met Phillies fans? Like, let's be real here. So let's pull up the game chart without further ado. That way you guys can take a look at it and let me know your observations. Please let me know anything that you noticed in the chat. We will be, I guess I can talk to chat now. That's what all the kids do is, hey, chat. Is this right? Am I doing this correctly? But we are looking at the Super Bowl kickoff chart. So this is going to be the theme of the game for today. We are starting off with that Leo rising. I am wearing my sun necklace from Shadana's shop. So we're all geared up on the Sunday. The day of the Aquarius sun is very much it's being felt for this event, right? The sun ruling a chart usually means it's a little bit egocentric and a little bit more expressive than usual. If you guys are looking to understand zodiac energy a little bit more, we happen to have this amazing book that tells you all about it, right? Like, it tells you all the things about your sun sign, as well as your rising sign, gives you qualities of each rising sign, which are right here. And that's kind of the qualities of the zodiac signs himself, right? So if you're looking for understanding what the hell I'm talking about, check out the Astrology of 2025. Yours will not feature the bookmark from my grandmother's obituary like I have, though. So shout out to Marjorie, my lovely grandmother, and her love of astrology. I feel like found me. So I feel like I'm very much on the right path thanks to people that have, been in my family looking at the sky and the stars long before me. So looking at this chart, take a minute. I will take a second and let you guys think and not just be talking over it. So here you go. All right. So first things first, you know that this is a Leo rising chart. The sun is in the 7th house. The sun is that tiny circle with a dot in the middle. That is where the sun is represented, and that is the astrological glyph for it. You guys might not be aware of all the symbols and stuff, so I'll try to cover them as much as I can. Some of them I have no idea how to describe, so we are out on, we're just gonna go with it and see what happens, because like Saturn I could describe as a cross with a little squiggly hook on the left or on the right side of it. Jupiter looks like a 4. Uranus looks like somebody like trying to cover their ears and being like, no more noise. So yeah, those are my descriptions. Those are fun. But yeah, the sun is over in the 7th house. And if you noticed my blog, right, my blog over on Northern Astrology, we talk about the Cazimi happening today. And that is definitely a major factor in today's game. Anyone who is Mercury ruled is going to have a little bit more of a boost this game, which if you read my article, you might know one of the key players that is happening to be ruled by Mercury. And yeah, it's always like I will leave Easter eggs in my blogs. I will leave hints of things in my blogs. I'm never going to come out and give you Patrick Mahomes' birth time, but I will allude to his placements and certain things. So I know a lot of people are like, why don't you do that? And it's like, until I have permission from the athlete themselves, I'm not going to do it. If it's on a data bank, then I will use that, but I am not going to be the one unless I have permission to do that. Hey, Jess. Yes, it is the final countdown. And I actually have your comments pulled up for the Super Bowl chart analysis. I was going to run to those real quick just now. So if you guys don't know, I have a community section on YouTube where I post blog posts, polls, stuff like that. And the astrology preview for the Super Bowl went up on 6 days ago. So Monday it went up, or like late Sunday night. And I wanted to point out that one of our commenters all season long has been absolutely spot on and really poignant with the way that she asks questions and looks into things. So Jess Groove 5011 on YouTube says, it is so cool reading this breakdown of the Super Bowl and seeing some of the things already come to fruition. That is very much the case. Like, I think that saying that people were going to get engaged and saying that Saquon was going to be a big star of the game because his birthday was coming up, he ended up getting engaged and he kind of is the star of that. But then his fiance had some racist tweets and I'm just like, I don't vibe with that. I don't vibe with white people using the N-word. It's not my thing. I don't think that we have any reason to ever use that. And she just used it, casually in 2012. And of course, it's like 13 years ago at this point. So that was definitely an interesting storyline for sure. And then DeAndre Hopkins, on a more positive note, sharing sentimental moments from stories of his family during Media Day, is what Jess pointed out. So the one thing that Jess mentioned that I don't think many of you asked me about, just because, it's something that is happening after the Super Bowl. So sometimes it might not seem like the most important thing in the world. However, because the Super Bowl is happening right before full moon, this full moon is absolutely setting up so much for this game. The full moon will be at 24 degrees Leo. I just shoved a bunch of stuff off my desk. Sorry if that's what you guys heard. The full moon is going to be in Leo. There it is, February 12th at 24 degrees Leo. So it's a few days after the game, and this is very much it's reassuring for whoever like loses this game. It's all about after a heavy storm, a rainbow appears. That's a solution degree to everything. But it's about this guy so focused on spiritual enlightenment that he loses sight of his physical condition, right? And since this full moon will be conjunct the Super Bowl's rising, I do feel like storylines will continue to play out from the Super Bowl for a minute. I also feel that way because the Chiefs, as you can see, have their Mars, if you're going off of the May 22nd chart, which has been the most accurate for my predictions thus far, then we are going with that 24 degrees Leo Mars. That is quite the kind of a synchronicity, right? Like, you know, the Chiefs having their Mars right at that degree of the full moon later. So this is another factor into why I believe the Chiefs are winning today by 2 points. Honestly, with the moon at 20 degrees in Cancer, that was the deciding factor of the score for last year's game. I'm not sure if I have last year's chart, but I know it was a Leo rising. I can go to my blog and, you know, look that up. The Super Bowl 24, yeah, it was a 1 degree Leo rising, and it was a moon 21 degrees Pisces in the 9th house. So 21 degrees Pisces is where Patrick Mahomes' Saturn is. And so I immediately was like, this has to be something big, right? This has to be a sign that this could be the indicator of the score. So since the moon changes so rapidly, I think that that's where I am going to keep going with my score indicators. There's been times this year where I have gone into this like frenzy where I'm like, okay, they're going to win by X amount of points, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, how is that going to happen? Like winning by 5 or winning by 8, or, you know, winning by 3 makes sense, a field goal. Winning by 2, kind of. But it's always this like very difficult, like trust your gut type thing. So as a moon ruled person, using the score to indicate, or using the moon to indicate the score, is something that like I said, I've been developing. It's been working at certain points. It's been illuminating when I don't pick the moon to help me indicate the score. I end up being wrong. And when I try to like go with logic and be like, they'll win by 7, they'll lose by 3, I try to be logical and like pick football numbers, and it just doesn't work. You know, in this case, I do want to mention that moon in the 12th house being quite spiritual as it is conjunct Mars. I think some scaredy cat astrologers would tell you that the moon and Mars in synastry is not the best thing in the world. I have it natally with my other half, and I think it adds the spice to life that most people need. So this Mars retrograde and the moon conjunction in the 11th and 12th house is definitely going to be loud today, mostly because Mars is the active ingredient for most athletes' drive, determination, and aggression. And Mars station retrograde, it will be slowly stationing direct as February 23rd is when Mars is direct. And I'm very excited about that, mostly because I have a Mars ruled sun, and it can kind of feel like just reevaluating. It's almost like that life review before death. It's like, okay, have you done everything to amend your anger? So today is going to be a very passionate game. Once again, this is a sun ruled chart, and the sun is in Aquarius, conjunct Mercury in Aquarius as well, exactly, which is known as a Kazimi when it is in the heart of the sun. That is an old Arabic term and phrase that loosely translates to heart of the sun. And it's soothing. It's like when a planet is forming a Kazimi, it's like, to me, it's at its like purest form, like forged by fire. Fire is a purifier. It can like get all the debris, and it's like almost going back into the fire in like not a pottery sense, but yeah, kind of like a glass blowing sense. Like when you reheat yourself and go back into the fire, it's like this refreshing thing. So pressure wise, Patrick Mahomes has got this today, seeming how I have mentioned 4 different times that he is ruled by Mercury. And, also we see some things here in the chart of the Super Bowl chart in general that can determine some pace and some hiccups. And one of them happens to be the South Node in Virgo, right? And that is conjunct Patrick Mahomes' son. So that is something that is definitely weighing on him. Looking at the quarterback's charts just while we're here, might as well. The quarterbacks are Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes for today. And seeing that Jalen Hurts has his sun right on the ascendant in the 12th house, as well as his Venus and Mars in the 12th house. He is going through his Mars return. That's one thing that Jess Groove from YouTube has pointed out, just looking for somebody with a Mars retrograde in their chart or a Cancer Mars. And that was kind of Cancer or Carson Wentz, Cancer Wentz. No, he's not a Cancer sun, I don't think. But Carson Wentz has the Mars and Cancer factor as well. So Jalen Hurts having the Mars and Venus conjunct the moon and Mars retrograde today, as well as his sun in the 12th house. I'm not sure what astrologers are looking at the sun in the 12th house and saying, fuck yeah, that means success. The sun in the 12th house is delayed gratification. It's almost like you have a panel of people voting to see if you get out of the 12th house energy or not. Or it's almost like you have a council of ancestors being like, okay, you have a 12th house sun for a reason. You're here to break some patterns, break some generational curses or, karmic bonds. Having a 12th house sun can be very infuriating when you're trying to get things done and make things happen in a quick manner. The 12th house is home to Pisces. That is the most murky and daydream-like sign. Plus, this is a 12th house ruled by the moon. So the moon being also in the 12th house is very much a distant type of emotional connection. It's something that might feel 3 to 5 business days later. They're going to feel this loss more than anything else. Jalen Hurts having his Mars and Venus and Sun all in the 12th house is one of the biggest deciding factors for why I think the Eagles are going to be losing today. His outer wheel, if you go on the outside, Patrick Mahomes is on the inside. The South Node, like I said, shows up for Patrick Mahomes' sun and also his Chiron there at 1 degree Libra, conjunct his Venus. There is, tendencies since his Mars in Scorpio is very much competitive, very much electric, that he's going to be an aggressive communicator today with his Mars and Scorpio in the 3rd house. With your Mars in the 12th house, this is more of a spiritual battle, spiritual test for Jalen Hurts. Am I saying the Philadelphia Eagles have no chance today? Absolutely not. Anything is possible. Don't let people doing a 50-50 prediction tell you that they know for sure anything is possible, right? I know for sure what the stars say. I know for sure what the pace of the game is looking like today. This is a familiar pace of the game. Having the South Node in the 2nd house very much indicates that today's game is going to be fast-paced, high action, and intense. Why? Because the 2nd house of today's game is ruled by Mercury, which is forming a Cazimi in the 7th house in Aquarius. So, calves and circulatory systems are a major focus today. Calf cramps, calf injuries, calf sprains, calf, hyperextension. I have no idea. I'm not a doctor or an orthopedic surgeon, so please don't quote me on this. And so the pace of the game has a South Node in there. It's very much about this karmic reckoning from the past. It can very much feel like, of course, these teams have met up before in the Super Bowl. And not to toot my own horn, but I did correctly predict the last 3. So this one, I hope, will be adding on to that prediction, right? So I know a lot of people do Super Bowl predictions with astrology or tarot. We're talking about something, let's be real here. I'm going to go back to the game chart. We're talking about something that all of the world watches, and there's one of 2 teams that can win. Zoo animals pick Super Bowl winners. Weather patterns predict Super Bowl winners. Like all of these things, it's a 50-50 chance. I don't sell my picks like behind anything just because it's just astrology based, and who am I to know anything? I don't read any of the current information happening with the teams. The only thing I paid attention to is the current events happening with this year's Super Bowl kind of leading up to it. So that's been kind of fun. But, I really and truly believe that people who want to bet on this game, they can with a little bit of my insight. It is going to feel like a close game. The other chance that I do want to point out here with the moon being at 20 degrees, this is not like 2 + 0. Okay, Chiefs win by 2. The reason I say it's going to be a close game is because of all that 7th house energy as well as the 8th house packed, right? Like just packed. And the 8th house to me represents other people's money, gambling, Vegas, those odds. It's very much a thing that I think factors into the overall mysticalness of this chart. I will say that the 8th house is ruled by Jupiter, which means betting will be tricky. With that Neptune North Node conjunction, I will just go ahead and say my public service announcement that if you don't have it, don't bet it. It's really that simple. I don't need to tell you to go to 1-800-BETS-OFF, but I can tell you that the things that really like stick out are just like be careful with your money, and fortune favors the bold. So if you're going to be doing prop bets or if you're going to be doing things that are high risk, then there's also high reward there. Saturn in the 8th house is very much like that. It's like that gatekeeper of like, you sure you got it? Like if you spend your mortgage on this bet, you better be able to pay your mortgage still. That kind of energy. So I'm really excited to be able to kind of like give some guidelines, share some insight here. So if you guys have any questions, like I said, we're going to be covering on that. I want to go into the Twitter comments mostly because I have some really cool info from Belly Jellies, one of the accounts that has been super active and helping with the conversation around the astrology charts on Twitter. Predicting was super fun for last time. So Eagles, I can see why the team fell apart in 2023. The Eagles' Mars in Libra was drained by the South Node in Libra at the time, but the power they have is evident now with Pluto and Aquarius trining their Mars. That is definitely the case. Let me pull up the tri-wheel here since we're talking about that. With the Eagles' Mars being pretty much where I think it is a really powerful spot. Like having 0 degrees Mars is very much a collection of not only Libra, but also Virgo. So it's like that 30 degrees Virgo. Let's just look at it since we're right here. I have it already open up to Leo, so it's fine. 30 degrees Virgo is having an urgent task to complete. A man does not look to any distractions. And then 1 degree Libra is a butterfly preserved and made perfect with a dart through it. And then the solution degree is the light of the 6th race transmuted to the 7th. It's like shared visions, communication, all that. Their chart does show brotherly love, right? Like with the Libra Mars, it's very much about other people and working with others and sharing that with others. But the others might be a source of aggression for the Eagles fans too with that Libra Mars. So very interesting having that trine Pluto, just like Belly Jellies said. The Eagles' Jupiter is in the 2nd house of the game, opposite Saturn in the 8th house. So that's going to be an interesting one for sure. Having Jupiter at the diabolical degree, a Virgo ruled degree in Virgo, it's very much like luck through physical body and physical health. So I'm interested to see how the pace of the game holds up. The Chiefs have a lot of Virgo placements, and they have like Juno and Vesta in Virgo at that like 13 and 18 degree. So Vesta is something that, once again, I'm learning how to work with the asteroids in sports astrology, because working with the asteroids in a birth chart is like, yeah, that's easy to do. It's very much about where you find, it's like your inner hearth and fireplace of your soul. And it's like what lights you up and what brings you joy when it comes to your home and your space around you. So the experience with the Jupiter opposite Saturn, They experience expansion by being meticulous, analytical, and practical, but at the moment, Saturn is limiting how they nurture themselves or expand their fortune. Very much agree. This is a placement, Jupiter opposite Saturn, that can feel like constrictions and restrictions in life, fortune being less than or delayed in certain situations. It's also a placement and a transit that is all about health being wealth, right? Saturn is that timekeeper and time master, taskmaster, karmic punisher, and karmic rewards also included in Saturn's lore. And I definitely think that's going to be poignant. The Mercury ruled Jupiter is going to be poignant. Mercury ruled second house. It's going to be spicy. This is the big battle. This is a game that they've all been waiting for. This is a history making game. And, since people have brought it up, Trump being there is another thing. Trump is a 29-degree Leo rising and a Leo Mars. So, the Philadelphia Eagles actually have the South Node at the same place as Trump's rising. So that's pretty interesting. 29 degrees Leo, for that to be Trump's rising, I just want to point that out, is that is the degree of a mermaid sitting on a rock waiting for her knight in shining armor to come about and save her. So very interesting degree for Mr. Trump there, President Trump. I guess he's president now. I should be more respectful. And then 30 degrees Leo is an unsealed letter, has vital and confidential information. And then 1 degrees Virgo is in a portrait, the best of a man's traits and characters are idealized. So it's kind of funny that portraits of Trump are actually more legendary and intimidating than his actual presence, because you just never know. Like, Trump and Kanye have such similar energy. You just never know what the hell they're going to say. And I don't even want to go into Kanye's tweets from the last few days. It's been absolutely wild. But anyways, going back into that conversation, is like, hey, you don't have to do any predictions on him. But yeah, it's definitely highlighting him. He's going to be not in a spiritual situation, but definitely going through, taking stock and evaluating what it's all about, right? Oh yeah, and Drake's rising is also at 29 degrees Leo. So it's giving wounded masculinity. But since Mars is retrograde, Belly Jellies, we're going back to the Twitter comments, looking at this chart. Since Mars is retrograde, I'm thinking this could mean the team is revisiting old conflicts, lead up to a blow up or intense frustrations. There was conflict between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts this season. Whenever you have conflict between quarterbacks and the rest of the team, I don't want to say that it's like not a great sign, but it usually shows that the team is not firing on all cylinders, like energy wise. So it can definitely be frustrating to watch. Belly Jellies goes into their prediction for the Chiefs. Don't know why the first thing that caught my eye is their North Node in Cancer and the 12th house conjunct the moon. Probably because it's very important. I guess because I saw a clip of Chris Jones looking at the play clock at the last game, seeing 333 and telling his teammates it's a sign that it's meant for them to go to the Super Bowl. I love that. I love that Chris can see signs and numbers and synchronicities. That's amazing, and also very Cancerian of him. There we go. I would expect them to be more intuitive, trusting their own insights and using their emotions to understand where they are heading as a team. I agree with that. All of it. The Chiefs' placements are packed in the 1st and 10th house, with the Chiefs' sun in the 10th in a wide conjunction with Jupiter. Yes, very much a wide conjunction, but it still is very prominent. And also their Mercury ruled sun, Mercury Kazemi, happening very much like trine, like very loosely trine their sun. The TikTok significance of the Chiefs needing to win the Super Bowl for somebody to win $75,000. That's very, very much on par with money being at stake for people here, like Belly Jellies also pointed out. The things that Belly Jellies noticed was a packed 8th house with Neptune there, pointing at people being delusional with their money. Yeah, and with that being said, in the 8th house, we see the Chiefs, Chiron, and Jupiter, and nothing for the Eagles, simply because we're not going to use a vertex of a noon chart, We can use a lot of things in this noon chart, but a vertex is not one of them. So the Chiefs do have a little bit of an edge with betting. It's not going to feel like it at first, but then at the end, They pull through their Jupiter and Venus conjunction, along with Chiron there in the ninth house, is definitely going to be interesting for the Chiefs. Being the away team and having their Venus in the ninth house is definitely going to feel right for them. It is a matter of diligence and discipline. And if Venus and Taurus is nothing but being committed, loyal, and disciplined in matters of the heart and the things that they want, they go after it. They are not afraid of a challenge. Taurus is a very physical sign. They do like nice things. So hopefully the Chiefs' accommodations up until this point have been up to their standards. I do think that that's one thing. They're a little bit bougie, which if you look at the Hunt family, I think you can tell that it's okay that we're a little bit bougie. The Chiefs can afford it. Going into that eighth house again too, with Venus and Neptune, North Node and Saturn all in there. It's like the thing that kept sticking out of my head was fortune favors the bold, fortune favors the brave. It's like this, it's a Latin saying, of course, that I'm not going to try to remember the actual Latin for it, but it's all about where fortune is. And for this chart and for this game, if you go into the fifth house, you see not only the vertex being the spiritual doors that open for you, opportunities or through people, but you also see the part of fortune in Capricorn. Part of fortune is known as like that co-ascendant kind of feeling for a natal chart, but in a sports chart, I like to see it as something that's going to be making a big impact. So the number 18 is going to be very loud today. So that's going to be interesting. And I do want to point out that there are the numbers to watch for at the end of my blog post. So if you go to northernastrology.com, it is available there. But the numbers to watch for this game: 2, 3, 18, 19, 20, 24, 27, 28, 34, 54, 60, 72, 95, and 96. These signs to watch for are Leo, Cancer, Aquarius, Taurus, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. And the Kansas City Chiefs win by 2 points. The overarching theme is that this could easily be a blowout on one side or the other, just because the 20-degree moon indicates 20 points. It could easily be a game where the Chiefs or Philly wins by 20 points. But once again, I am seeing things favoring Philadelphia losing today, right? Like, this is not necessarily showing that they're doomed, but with Philadelphia's Venus, Mercury, and Pluto and Vesta all in the 12th house today, I do think there's going to be a little bit more of a slow burn for them. We could watch them be very strong all through the game, and then at the very last moment, they completely fold. It's giving Josh Allen crumbling in the AFC Championship energy, right? It's giving that only because Josh Allen had his placements. He had a moon in the 12th house for that game. And it was a bit much to watch. Very much psychological, subconscious type of energy here with Venus and Mercury Mercury opposing the Mercury Cazimi is already going to be wild. For the Eagles, it could just feel like they are operating a little bit slower than normal. The pace of the game, Chiefs are going to be off to a blazing start, with Mars, Uranus, and Pluto all there in the first house, as well as the part of fortune, ascendant, Ceres, and Juno. That the part of fortune is not accurate just because that is a noon chart. But it's really interesting to see, the packed first house very much means that this is a personal showcase of a game for the Chiefs, as well as them kind of showing off like, hey, we can do this. We can three-peat. We can make history. Just having the Mars on the ascendant alone is enough for me to be quite adamant that this is going to be a jam-packed energy for the Chiefs. Looking directly opposite of the ascendant on the descendant, which is more of the relationship to the other and the relationship to how you show up to others in this chart and in this game. The Chiefs have their Saturn conjunct the Sun in Aquarius. So without having a background on the Chiefs, if this was the Chiefs' first time in the Super Bowl and we had never seen them rise to the occasion with the sun conjunct their Saturn before, I would probably be hesitant, right? But with, just like I said, that last game, the sun was exactly at 22 degrees. So that was exactly conjunct their Saturn in Aquarius at 22 degrees. So definitely interesting to see the dominance of a team that has Sun and Saturn aspects. Sun and Saturn in most charts, like if I see that in a fighter's chart, UFC chart, something like that, I'm immediately like, this is not going to go well, because Sun and Saturn aren't necessarily planets that work well together for athletic performance. However, with Mars kind of making this anchoring point, it's like, no, you're going to have physical responsibility. It won't be limiting. I've got the aggression and drive part covered. So that'll definitely be interesting, seeing that the Eagles have their Pluto at 22 degrees Cancer. That is the kill or be killed degree, and a transformational planet. Yes, Pluto is still a planet in my astrology practice. Call it a dwarf planet and we'll fight. But having Pluto there, and, loosely for the Eagles squaring their Uranus in the 9th house, that to me shows more of this like feistiness, back and forth. The intensity is definitely going to be building with the Eagles. They are going to be showing up just as strongly physically as the Chiefs, which is going to be a problem for the Chiefs, just because, they're used to these long winding games, but Philly is a different monster. They've got their Aquarius moon in the 6th house, as well as their Saturn retrograde in the 6th house. So one thing I wanted to point out is that Jalen Hurts has his Uranus and moon conjunction. Once again, this is a noon chart, so he might have a later degree moon where the moon is not quite like directly conjunct Uranus retrograde in his chart. But because that Uranus and moon is on the descendant, Jalen Hurts definitely needs to be careful with any sort of running plays, calf injuries, and feeling it in his circulatory system. Like, he is wired for this game. He is going to be on point, his Neptune, moon, and Uranus all in the 6th house. This is like a physical game that he can feel in his veins. So I'm really excited to see how that kind of shapes up, because this could very much be Jalen Hurts' game of his life, gives his all, but at the last minute, it's just like, not quite enough. So I'm definitely interested to see how that goes. Having a sun opposition going on loosely right now is definitely going to feel constricting for him, with the sun in the 12th house of today's game. That Mercury retrograde in Leo is going to be conjunct the Chiefs Mars. So that'll be interesting to see. I think that if anything, the Chiefs will probably be dominating Jalen Hurts a little bit, just with his energy being a little bit more sandwiched in by them. With Patrick Mahomes' chart, he has his Cancer moon in the 11th house, is very much about being an emotional and vocal leader, while Cancer isn't necessarily running the vocal area or the throat by any means. Having his moon in Cancer is all about kind of showing the way, like illuminating the path emotionally for the rest of the team, especially in the 11th house of community, friendships, networks, charity, and belief systems. So interesting to see that. This game is going to be high scoring thanks to Uranus in the 10th house. We've seen that all season long. Uranus and Jupiter in the 10th house. Jupiter is direct finally. If you or your loved ones have been victimized by the Jupiter retrograde transit, and especially Pisces and Sagittarius risings, things have not been, the smoothest of sailing for you all lately. So it's definitely known to be a bit of a trickster with Jupiter and Gemini. But at the Aquarius degree, I do think that indicates that Aquarius are going to have a big game today. And that's the one thing. I'm going to post it in the comments. I need to see where I can get to my profile. I don't know how to use web Twitter as well. There we go. I clicked the button. It worked, guys. The chart that I shared earlier this week, I'm going to share it in the YouTube comments just so everyone can see it, is I'm pulling this up because I know Justin Reed's going to have a hell of a game today. And if you haven't seen this already, Justin Reed has his chart, and why don't I just save it? And yeah, I'll save it and we can add it to the desktop, and you guys can watch me be number one live editor again, one last time, right? Let's find it. So Justin Reed is someone that has been absolutely monumental in many ways for the Chiefs. Let me see if I can find this chart. Downloads, maybe? Where did it go? Yeah, I'm going to have to save it another way. Open image in a new tab. Save image. Okay, we got this now. I don't want you guys to miss out though, right? Like I've gotta make sure that you can see what I'm talking about, because that's totally not the point. Like it would be awful to just be like, you guys see that, right? Make you go to Twitter. All right, Justin Reed, this is a noon chart once again, but if you are on defense with Justin Reed, you can see his physical impact. Very loud today. That Neptune is kicking off his stellium in the 6th house. Neptune in Capricorn is not part of the Aquarius stellium, but it's kicking off that grouping of planets. He's got Jupiter, Uranus, Ceres, Mercury, Venus, Vesta, and his sun all in Aquarius. So this is an Aquarius powerhouse man. He is on one. And guess what number he happens to be? 20. So the moon is in his favor. The world is in his favor. The Super Bowl is in his favor. This is a very physical game for him. So I'm looking forward to him just showing out. We've talked a lot about the football game. We've talked a lot about the quarterbacks. We do want to take a look at the coaches before we tap into the fun stuff, which is the halftime show. So let's look at the coaches for today. I did a quick little insight on the coaches roughly just like at the end of my blog post. So I didn't pull it up too much, or I didn't focus on it too much, but there is, oh no, I just literally closed out of what I was going to be reading. I love doing things on my own and live. It's just like, yeah, I got this. So I mentioned that the North Node is conjunct Andy Reid's Sun, Mahomes' Saturn, and Jalen's Jupiter retrograde. That's what I mentioned in the blog post. If you guys have read that, cool. If not, it's in the comments. Please read it. It's definitely worth it. It can definitely help your picks today for sure. Looking at the outer wheel is Nick Sirianni, and then we have Andy Reid on the middle wheel. So first house Pluto, everyone's obsessed with Andy Reid for this game. Everyone's obsessed with talking about him. It's a focus. He's a larger than life presence. It's just what happens. So get over it. Then we have in the second house, Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in the second house for Nick Sirianni. This is more of a balanced and like paced, like when you're a coach, having Libra placements is going to be real beneficial to you. You know, you can see all the angles, all the sides. You work well with personnel. You work well with other people. There is joy and also lessons in other people for you, especially when you have Jupiter and Saturn and Libra. That always means other people. That always means like, you know, others. So going into, yeah, all that air, Justin Reed's air, the moon, his Aquarius, it's just wild. Yeah, where did that go? I want to see that again. Yeah, his Aquarius, and then he has Libra Mars retrograde as well as a Gemini moon. So yeah, you could say that he is quite the just flies through the air with the greatest of ease energy. That it's impressive. So Justin Reed's going to have a big game, number 20. Definitely look out for him. Nick Sirianni's got the Pluto in the third house. So transformative communication, Pluto retrograde. Might take him a while to get warmed up speaking today. Who knows? Andy Reid has Jupiter retrograde as well as his North Node and Neptune retrograde all in the third house of today's game of communication. This to me signals use from the past, use from your past memories. Try to look at the game in a way that is channeling all your research, all your knowledge. You know, Scorpio is all about the research and going to the depths of finding every last detail possible. Like everyone thinks that Virgo is incredible at research. You should meet eighth house placements. They're terrifying. Having the fourth house be Philadelphia's turf really for the game. We've got the moon and Uranus in the fourth house for Philly, or for Philly's coach, Nick Sirianni, and nothing really for Andy Reid because the vertex is, you know, a timed thing. So we would need to know his birth time, which if anyone knows when Andy Reid was born, I would love that information for my personal, I guess, research. There is a big push here for Nick Sirianni's emotional, outbursts behind closed doors, very much changing emotions, having his Uranus and Scorpio like that retrograde, loosely conjunct his moon. Once again, we don't know if he's a Scorpio moon or a Sagittarius moon. There's just so much with the noon chart that I'm like, this is great because at least we have an understanding of what's going on. But because we don't know the exact time, I can't do like the full in-depth details that I would like to. So Super Bowl coaches and head football coaches, I am after you next once I get all the athlete birth times. Going into that sixth house today for Nick Sirianni, he's got his south node at 2 degrees Aquarius. And Andy Reid has his Mars at 1 degree Aquarius. Now, anyone that's aware of the current transits knows that Pluto is currently in Aquarius. And you can see that right there at the 2 degrees. And that is very much transformational for Andy Reid's plan of attack with that Mars there. And then also Nick Sirianni's kind of like understanding and flow of the game. I'm glad I can still take breaks. I can talk for 3 hours straight, but do you think Reid has chance at winning MVP? Ooh, Justin Reid, that would be so cool. He's got like the most physical chart. Like I can definitely see that being like a prop bet where you're like $5 down and it's like winning 500. Who knows? I agree with you. I think Nick Sirianni definitely looks like a Scorpio moon guy. Sagittarius moons are a lot more bountiful and like bubbly with their energy. They are very much all like having a Jupiter ruled moon in general is going to make you a little bit more softer and more socially out there. And I think that Andy Reid having a Jupiter ruled moon is very fitting. So I don't worry about Andy Reid having an Aries moon or having an earlier degree Pisces moon. I really do think that 22 degrees suits him. Maybe not in the way that we're all familiar with, but I think behind closed doors with all the loss and all the complications that Andy Reid has gone through, I think that Pisces moon definitely fits him. So Noah or Justin for the MVP. Well, I do have Noah's chart. We can definitely pull that up. I know I have that in the blog post as well. Oh my gosh, Justin Reid is plus 50K for MVP. That's crazy. Super Bowl chart with Noah is right here, and it's going to take up my entire screen until I live reformat that. This is definitely an interesting one. I had it included on the blog, right? So it's in the extras. If you scroll down, if you already read the 8 pages of information that I gave you for the Super Bowl, then, you know, you can definitely see that this is going to be a wild game for Noah. You know, this is a fun and easy prop bet to cash in on. I mentioned that Noah Gray will be making a splash and disrupting the home team. Look at all of that fourth house energy, right? So I feel as though with his moon and Lilith, Chiron, Juno, and Pluto all in the fourth house, I feel like he's definitely going to be a secret weapon since that fourth house is kind of like behind closed doors and under the surface. So I'm definitely curious to see how that plays out. As well as this Mars retrograde in the third house, it might take him a while to get warmed up with this, but once he does, he is going to be on fire. So I'm very excited to see that. You know, having his Neptune square his Mars, that Neptune in the sixth house is going to be like, he might not get physically up and running until like second half. Having his son on the MC is definitely the biggest indicator. That is why I was saying that, yeah, he's probably going to go off today. Having his Mercury, Jupiter, Pallas, Saturn, and Sun all in the ninth house for the away team, which is the Chiefs, means that he probably is going to be a big factor, right? Chiron in Aries is currently conjunct his Jupiter and Mercury. So watching out for head injuries and watching out for mental injuries, I feel like mental injuries are more like letting your attitude get riled up or get screwed up or like get out of whack. So since he's a Taurus, it's like this slow, steady build. Having your sun and Saturn so close by really makes you a strong, responsible, diligent human being. And it can make you feel like later on in life is when you're actually going to thrive. So the older Noah Gray gets, he is 10 years younger than Travis Kelce. So the older he gets, the more he is going to shine, right? So definitely interesting with Noah Gray's chart there. So we got the coaches, we're looking at, Andy Reid's Mars is over there in the sixth house, and then that's trine loosely Nick Sirianni's Mars in the 10th house in Gemini. Having his Mars and Jupiter in Gemini is definitely an indicator that he has some positive luck for today. His sun conjunct Juno in the 11th house. He has a commitment to be a mental prowess leader. Nick is going to have to come up with some really big plays today and really be creative, which is where his Neptune meets Andy Reid's Saturn in the 5th house of creativity. So it could be a little bit difficult. Having his Mercury retrograde and ruled by the moon, and the moon in Cancer today in that 12th house, that's like having a supercharged illumination on possible ways he executes plays. Play calling, with Pallas and Venus conjunct in the 11th house. It's all about using your mental prowess for good and for change and for nurture. So I feel like Nick Sirianni's role today might be more about keeping his team together, nurturing, keeping the energy positive, keeping things going for them, and keeping things on a fun trajectory. So definitely going to be interesting to see with that 12th house Cancer moon being so prominent today in the 12th house. I already said the 12th house, but the sun ruling the chart. We got to talk about the ultimate Cancer here with all this Cancer energy for the halftime show with Kendrick Mars. He's not a Cancer sun. He is a Gemini sun with his sun conjunct Lilith as well as Chiron. So healing through words is so incredibly powerful for Kendrick Lamar. And today is no different. He's got his Mars in Cancer at 17 degrees, which is conjunct my rising. Exactly. So congrats, Kendrick. You and I would have some incredible, not battles. I think we just write songs well together. I don't write rap, but I have a Gemini moon, so I've always loved rap. So it'll be really fun to see this halftime performance. I'm really looking forward to it. One thing I will mention here is that Kendrick's moon is conjunct Saturn, so he might not really feel the intensity or feel how powerful this really is for him until later on, right? Like Pisces moon trine the Cancer moon. I'm definitely thinking that we have like some sort of emotional outpouring. He might shed some tears. That'll definitely be interesting. Pam, the coolest sports bettor I know, is Gray having a bigger game than Kelce? I have to say yes, with Libra being over here in the 3rd house, I think that Kelsey's going to be stronger, 2nd and 3rd house, Kelsey's going to be a stronger mentor leader. I do think he shows up well. I do think he has a solid game. I do think if he wins and the Chiefs win this game, when they win this game, I think that Kelce will be going off into the hills for retirement. And this will be his big send off. So I can definitely see how his sun and Mars and Libra in the 2nd house are going to be playing a big impact on this game. So I can definitely see that. I can pull up that game chart real quick. There it is. I should probably hide Kendrick's chart when I do that. So you can see that, with Lilith in Libra in the third house, Libras are definitely going to be a vocal part and a big part of the mental win for today's game. So with Kendrick's chart being the key part to the halftime show, with Venus being the midhaven ruler. So the midhaven, or the MC of the chart, is the highest part of the chart in between the 9th and 10th house, and it rules over the 10th house, and it shows an arrow pointing up. It's at the 12 o'clock position almost every time. Some people have that MC in the 9th. It just depends on the house systems you use. Yeah, Destiny said she caught up with a little of the beginning of the live stream. So interesting they mentioned Trump's rising, because Drake is also, we mentioned the 29-degree Leo rising. Drake's rising is definitely in the first house of today's game. So I personally think that Not Like Us is absolutely playing. If it's not an instrumental, it might just be like something to get the people going, get the crowd hyped up. It'll come out. We just need a few seconds of that song and everyone knows it. So it'll definitely be interesting. With Kelsey's planets being trine Jupiter, I absolutely think that he has potential to make a big impact for today, right? So it's going to be down to the fact, let me go ahead and see if I can pull up Travis Kelce's chart, just because everyone is mentioning Travis Kelce, and I'm like, yeah, I guess that's the one guy that I'm like, yeah, he's good. He's got this. He's fine. Let me pull up his chart and get that going for you guys, just so you can see this last one, because hey, why not? New chart, Travis Kelce, 10/5/89. We're gonna use noon chart. I had somebody not that long ago get really mad at me for not giving them Travis Kelce's birth time. And I'm like, first of all, if that is something that I possess, why would I give it to you? You're a stranger, whatever. So I have Travis's chart pulled up here. I thought that meant that you guys could automatically see it. That is not the case, because I'm not sharing my screen. But here we are. This will be the image that we change from Kendrick's or Noah's to Travis's. So there we go. All right, Travis Kelce. So you can see here that his Mercury being in the second house conjunct the South Node, that is where I do think that things are going to be a little bit slower for him. But with the South Node being ruled by Mercury, and Mercury being in Cazimi with the Sun today, I believe that it's going to be a big day for Mercury placements and mercurial people. I was going to say Mercury ruled people, but mercurial people is a better way to say that. Having your Mars and Sun trine Jupiter, as well as loosely trine Pluto, it's very much transformation, very much about that higher mentality. Like Jupiter and Gemini is very much about being intellectual, but it's about your hands. It's about making sure that things are moving well for you. With Venus ruled Mars and Sun, we automatically look to Venus, which is opposing those placements. So I like oppositions. I'm a person that will always recommend somebody, if they want to fall in love with the opposite sun sign of you and learn everything about yourself, and then you can never get triggered again. But since that's not always the case and easy for people to do, the other option is going with opposition of Venus, Mars. That can add some spice, but Venus opposite Mars and Sun is very much going to feel like fight for the right to party. Belly Jellies mentioned that his full moon is going to be on his South Node and the North Node on the 12th. Absolutely. So his big retirement is something that I do think will come with the full moon, if he announces it will be on the 12th. And he'll let everybody know it's been a great ride. We won another Super Bowl. Let's go home. If the Chiefs do not win the Super Bowl, do I think Travis Kelce retires? I'm not sure. If the Chiefs do not win the Super Bowl, does Andy Reid retire? No. I can answer that one just real quick. No. This is a team. Like if Pete Carroll is still coaching in the NFL or coaching in general, then I think Andy Reid's going to be fine. I don't know which one's older. I just think Pete Carroll is 900 years old with a good facelift. So whatever. The objects of having the objects of having Mercury in the South Node and the objectifying energy from all the Pisces energy directly across with Neptune as well as Saturn in Pisces, that definitely can feel a little bit constricted once again for Travis Kelce's Mercury. But going into his Venus being in the fourth house of today's game, as well as his moon possibly being in the fourth house of today's game, could easily be in the fifth house. I believe that Travis is like a Taurus rising or a fixed rising, but that's just because of the insight I have to that. Destiny asked, do you ever progress the horary event for Game Insight? Game begins Leo Ascendant, ends in Libra. Majority of the game is in the entirety of Virgo Ascendant, thinking of the Kazemi and what that means. I don't mess with horary. That's not my style. I do look at the progressed and changes for the game, but I like to look at the chart cast as the overall energy for that entire event, so I don't worry too much about that part. I'm glad that Pete Carroll still gives you hope, Nora. I am not a Pete Carroll supporter as much as I used to be, right? I liked him more when he was in college. But yeah, having the horary like insight and knowing where that shifts and knowing where that goes. Like I said, I do think that late game delayed gratification for Travis Kelce is coming in, mostly because Libra being that like sweet spot is going to be where he really shines. So I think he does help influence the pace of the game. I do think he shows up loud today. But with his son being in the second house, Noah Gray having a son on the MC for today's game and having all that energy in the ninth house, I do think Noah Gray makes more of an impact. It's like the Kazemi is definitely going to be impacting a lot of people. Mercury being in the heart of the sun is going to be quite spicy. Imagine it to be quite vocal. This is going to be a game where communication and mindset matters more than anything else. Yeah, it's a battle of the ego anytime that, it's a Leo rising chart, but when the sun's in Aquarius, it's a little bit more aloof. It's a little bit more liberated. It's a little bit more, I'm good on my own. I'm going to do my own thing. So having that in the seventh house can kind of feel like maybe in partnerships and stuff, having a seventh house Aquarius sun, you might not be as warm and fuzzy to your partner or to close friends as others are, or you might not be able to like go to that coziness and warm and fuzzy level with people, but you eventually get there when you love somebody. So having a Saturn ruled seventh house with Mercury and the sun in the seventh house, I do want to look at Saturn at that diabolical degree of 18. That's why, once again, I think that the odds of betting, you should only bet with what you are great at, because the Mars trine Saturn is definitely giving lessons through money. But yeah, so Travis Kelce's chart, his Jupiter Chiron conjunction in the 11th house, he's very much healing past versions of himself where he might not have felt like he was able to perform the best or be the best leader. So definitely interesting there. Yeah, Travis being a Taurus rising makes so much sense only because Jason is a Taurus moon. They're super close and running a podcast together. Yeah. And I think the Taurus rising puts him at like 8:30 p.m. or something along those lines. And I believe I've heard I was born at night, but not last night from his mouth. So we'll see. We'll see. But I am not one to write the state of Ohio to get somebody's birth certificates. And if that's where you're at with your astrology search while the people are still alive, I suggest getting some help because it's highly invasive. That's why I was like, no, I'm not going to share any information that I have on Travis because I've met him. I've known him since 2014. I worked in sports media. I was able to be around many of the Chiefs players my whole life, really. But, Travis was one of them. And it was really cool to watch him grow up, with this team. And that's what we've been really diving into. And I admire people that can look at horary charts and be like, yes, so and so is winning the game, because I have to look at so many charts. I have to look at all the things going on. I've got the tri-wheel, I've got the quarterbacks, I've got the coaches, I've got Justin Reed's chart up here. Like, we've got so many things. And yes, I am a Chiefs fan. But if I were to see with this tri-wheel that the Chiefs are just absolutely getting blown out of the water, I would tell you the only game that I screwed up. Wow, that's really close. I'm getting a little too passionate. The only game that I was wrong about was the game that I knew they were going to lose against Buffalo in the regular season. It's like, I had a dream about it. I had a dream that Taylor Swift was really sad, and I didn't wake up sad for myself. I woke up sad for her, and I'm not a Swiftie like on that level. Like, I do love her because I think that anyone that can build yourself and your story and the things that have happened to you into a billion-dollar brand that helps other women and men and walks of all life relate to you, I think that's incredible. I think that's amazing to be able to do when you turn the things that happen to you, whether you've lived a privileged life, whether you've lived a rough life on the streets, whether you've lived a life in between. Your story matters. And that's what I think being a storyteller and being at the height of your success like Taylor is, I feel like that's very important. So very interesting to see that so much of the stars align with so much of my gut feelings as well as the happenings around the league. If you guys missed it already, Saquon got engaged to apparently a racist woman, but that engagement prediction already happened. Would I continue with that marriage? Absolutely freaking not. But that's just me. White people saying the N-word is a huge freaking no. Hard no. If that's something that you enjoy doing, we are never going to be friends. I'll just put it that way. Anyone that feels like that is something acceptable, it's got to go, right? So Saquon has other things to deal with today. It might be his birthday, but boy, is he under some scrutiny with that interesting situation. And yes, Belly Jelly said, how did somebody get Josh Allen's birth time? There are ethical ways to go about this, right? When writing a biography, you get their birth time and their birth certificate. When doing profiles, you might be like, hey, what time were you born? Like, some people start off books. That's why another thing, just because we're going to this scene, I'm just ranting about stuff now. We are in the second hour of the show, so I can do pretty much whatever I want. It's my show. Chiefs are winning by 2. The numbers to watch for and everything are already in the YouTube comments. If you haven't seen it already, it's pinned to my Twitter profile. So if you want to read the blog post, but it's like, I have a theory too, that the reason that Taylor Swift's birth time is unconfirmed is because somebody went and wrote a book about her. So the reason where we get Taylor Swift's birth time, if you go to I think it's charts.com, horrible interface, by the way, but it's the only source that you can use to like find, what is it? It's the only source you can use. Oh, for widgets on your website. That's what it is. So the credit goes to, you go to Astro Descendant. It's the collectors, the Rodden rating. It's at a date without time. It's very much a no. We don't have a birth time here. But 5:17 a.m. is proposed by somebody that I guess wrote a book and did some research. And I feel like at a certain point in life, when the research or like the birth time isn't known, I feel like at a certain point in Taylor Swift's career, nobody cared about protecting her. So if somebody wrote into the health department and said, what time was she born? You could get a birth certificate. All you have to know is your mother's or the person's mother's maiden name and the father's full name and the place they were born, the state they were born, county helps. And you can get anyone's birth certificate, right? You can claim to be a historian, a genealogist. You can do all this stuff. Is it ethical? No. I don't know why I have to say that out loud. It's 2025. Is going and getting somebody's birth time from a hospital chart of somebody you've never met, someone that's in the public eye, but you've never met, never had a conversation with, never asked permission. Like, I emailed Tree Payne just to make sure that I was using the correct time, and I did not get a response because that is a very busy woman. But it's like, go through the proper ethical channels. And while I might have gone viral for calling out Taylor Swift's chart and saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing, the people that called me out for it are so sad. It's like, yes, her birth time might not be 5/17, but my theory is that it is. She's a Scorpio rising, second house Capricorn, everything. It makes so much sense why people are like, this is a business deal relationship. It's like, no, it's not. Have you ever met somebody with second house placements? Everything is a business deal. Everything is a contract relationship. Everything you do is signed on a dotted line. That's because the second house is home to Taurus, and Venus rules over that. And as much as people put Venus being this like big lovey-dovey, upgrade your Venus, dress for success, it's like, grow up. Venus is tumultuous. Venus is this bringer of life, as well as I guess you could call her bringer of death, very much this swift hand of justice type energy. So in my opinion, I feel as though, she's a Scorpio rising, Taylor is, and that would be really funny to have that confirmed at one point in my life. Like, I know that I've said before that if I ever run into her and have the chance to have a conversation, be like, hey, I was that astrologer that went viral. What time were you born, if you don't mind me asking? So you'll only know that I have confirmed Taylor Swift's birth time when I post a photo with her and use her birth time as the caption. So there's that. I know that full circle moments have happened in less of situations, and seeming how I live in Kansas City and I have the potential of running into her at any moment in life could be quite, entertaining. You'll never know. Maybe I'm at a grocery store one day when her fame has died down and she's in her 40s or early 50s, and I'm like, hey, do you remember what time you were born? That's all it is. I have no interest in knowing secrets. I have no interest in knowing gossip, but I do have an interest in collecting some of the most pivotal people in our modern culture and finding their birth times, studying sports astrology charts. Some of the people that I've reached out to through the Housewives series have been amazing. Like, I have another Housewives show coming up on the 12th featuring Brynn Whitfield, one of the most controversial housewives of New York recent history. So I'm looking forward to that show as well. I do have my book to show you. If you guys are curious, my Astrology of 2025 book is in partnership with Alessia, Amanda, and Jamal, 3 incredible and talented astrologers that helped me put together this masterpiece of a book, right? We have decided that 2025 astrology is worth putting out a workbook for the year ahead. If you want to work with me, but my prices are a little steep for you, I understand. I have worked so hard in the last 15 years to build my brand, my career, the things that I've been doing with my life, from taking care of horses for rich people in Arizona to being a marketing guru for Arabian horses to being a student in college and working at hotels and in the hospitality industry and learning how to work with people, to working with sports teams in college and working with athlete management, to working with actual pro athletes and helping manage their football camps. And then all of a sudden I'm like handed a mic one day and told, you're a smart ass. You need to be on a mic and you need to be on air. And that's what I was told by my former mentor. It's like, I don't know who the hell you are, but you have a smart mouth. Get on a microphone immediately. And that's funny. Coming from somebody like me that has a speech impediment, that had problems with dyslexia growing up, there it is popping up right there, having issues with just speaking in general, and now my voice is being heard all over the place. My voice is being heard in spaces that I used to occupy with sports radio. I'm 36 years old, who knows where this is going to take me, but I have absolute faith in the universe to keep bringing me amazing people to work with, keep bringing me amazing people to collaborate with. And by the time that my kids are all grown and I am able to reemerge and travel the world either with them or on my own with my other half, I feel like I'm going to have a network of people all over the world that I've done readings for, that I've worked with, and I can go and visit them all and see parts of the world that I've yet to explore. So I am forever grateful for astrology for helping change my life during my Saturn return. If you're going through something that feels like it's fated, or you might feel cursed or doomed, I've been there too. Like I've been right there with you, and I felt those things come from a place that I'm like, where the hell is this stemming from? I've worked in areas of PR that have given me insight into how people like to spin things. I've heard secrets of sports history that I know for a fact a whole World Series has been rigged. And like, I have this information just floating in my head. Like, the amount of stories, connections, everything that I have through sports is something that will never, ever, ever really go away. Right. So I'm looking forward to 2025 being a year of revolutionary leaders emerging, people from all walks of life being celebrated. All of us are human beings. We are one human race. And I think people forget about that sometimes. And it's like, if you can connect to someone's soul and help them learn their magic and learn what they are great at innately and by design, you can really help them shift their perspectives and their way that they approach life. I know that when I discovered my astrology chart in 2018, the full chart, boy, was I mad, mostly because I had a Gemini moon and I'd always had problems with Geminis my whole life. I've always been like, Gemini energy is devious. I don't like it. Little did I know, I've got it too. So learning that all 12 zodiac signs are in your chart by birth, learning that all the things that we have experienced in life are explained, not justified, but explained through astrology, is incredibly healing. It can be a very incredibly freeing process. I have workbooks that go back to 2012, and they focus on 2012 to 2020, that healing journey of the Venus synodic cycle. We have a Venus inferior conjunction coming up on March 22nd, my birthday. My exalted sun in Aries is 2 degrees sun. It's very, very strong. And while I have a lot of Pisces placements, I have Pisces, Ceres, Mercury, North Node, and MC. I also very much align with my Aries sun that is just a powerhouse. And I have an intercepted 10th and 4th house. It's very much like something that I had to like grow up and grow into. And, part of that kind of strife is that my Jupiter is in Taurus, right? So having Jupiter in Taurus means that vocally you are gifted. My Venus is also in Taurus. So vocally, I've known that I'm supposed to be talking my whole life, but I never knew how I was supposed to do that because talking was so difficult. Like it was very difficult. My full name is Gracey Terrell, and to be able to say that is a miracle. I have all of the sounds, R, S, L, T, and also the C's that sound like S's and can be real obnoxious when you have a speech impediment. So I sounded like Gracey Towel like most of the time. So no one knew what I was saying. And that was my own name. So it's like seeing that astrology dictated my speech impediment from birth with my Chiron in the 12th house and Gemini, seeing that was square my North Node at 23 degrees Pisces, like it's all dictated in the stars. And it doesn't mean that you don't have free will. It doesn't mean that everything is predetermined, but with the Sabian symbols, with degree theory, with decans, with aspects, with transits, with all the tips and tools and tricks of astrology, once you start mastering them, and even Destiny brought up horary charts, that's another layer to astrology. And it's like the astrology of time and asking questions. And if you're interested, John Frawley has a book on using horary astrology in sports, but I was gifted a very powerful book recently, and I believe I still have it right here in my books. So I'm going to pull it up and show you guys. It's called Be a Winner Against All Odds by Rusty Withers. You guys can see that book cover so you know what book to be looking for. I was gifted this recently, and I was just blown away because horary astrology is not really my thing when it comes to sports, because I like to cast the actual chart versus like asking a question. I'm not trained in that discipline. When I see horary charts, like chart of the moment, what did I lose? I've been able to pick up on those things, which is really cool. I'm like, this is really amazing when people are able to do that, but not my style so much. What I like to do is really focus on reading, learning, applying things rationally. Like, do I watch other football games? No. I watch the games that my partner covers because he does YouTube reaction videos to football games and a myriad of things. He's amazing. But like when I see other teams, I'm just like, wow, I should study this. I should do, like, watching sports for me has completely changed since I started doing sports astrology, and it's fun. You know, if you are an astrology enthusiast and your other half likes sports, then you can kind of pick up some astrology insight and maybe start predicting the games and start scaring everyone, because some people tell me that because they watch my streams, the game is ruined for them. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want that to be the case. So yeah, real quick, pace of the game, ruled by the sun in the 7th house. The pace of the game is ruled by Mercury, which is in Cazimi with the sun in the 7th house. So it's going to be a very fast-paced game, very much quick on their feet. It's going to move quickly. Time management with that Saturn ruling over the, 6th house and 7th house. Time management is going to be key. Physical injuries with time might be prevalent. Transformation physically, people could easily transform around halftime. If I was going to say injury wise, anything would be happening, I think I would put it more on Philadelphia Eagles around halftime with calves or leg cramps or circulatory issues of some sort. This is indoor, so I don't think circulation is going to be as big of a problem as it could be, but you never know. So the Chiefs are winning by 2 today. If you are looking for the numbers to watch and signs to watch, it is on my blog, but just for you, I will go over it one more time. The numbers to watch are 2, 3, 18, 19, 20, 24, 27, 28, 34, 54, 60, 72, 95, and 96. The signs to watch are Leo, Cancer, Aquarius, Taurus, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. And the Kansas City Chiefs win by 2 points or by 20 points. We'll just see. But it's best of luck to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's thank you all so much for being with me this season. I have never done an astrology preview for every single Chiefs game the way that I did this year. The only game I wasn't live for was December 25th. I think all of you that understand that that's around Christmas time understand why I wasn't on air yet. You know, I still did my preview and I was still correct. Just throwing that out there. I was still right. So not that I would ever brag about that. I think once you get to a point where you're like, I'm untouchable, I can't be beat, that's when you absolutely get beat. So luckily, I experienced one failure this season, and that was against Buffalo in the regular season. In the postseason, they ended up winning. The Chiefs ended up winning, and they advanced to the Super Bowl. Another thing that I predicted was the Chiefs and the Eagles advancing that Sunday, because the sun was at a degree of a flag turns into an eagle, and it was super enlightening to just be like, wow, Sapien symbols do it again. I've just been so honored to be yapping about this stuff because I came into the astrology scene. I don't really work with like other astrologers anymore. I've had stints of it where I popped out and done a couple live shows. I've done a couple shows with others. I hosted them, and then it's just like, you know what? I really do love working solo. I'm an Aries. It's what happens. And I have this pace that like, it just keeps going. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I just keep talking and it doesn't slow down. So if you think I'm not capable of yapping for a full 4 hours, I totally am. I used to do a daily show, radio show on my own at most points. The people that I had co-hosting with me, I might as well have done it on my own. And so You can't really be a sports radio host and know nothing about sports outside of like two niche sports that nobody really cares about, right? So the people that I had hosting with me might not have always matched my style. And that's why so many people in my life have been begging me to go solo. And it's not, you can't work with other people, but it's like when I'm on camera, I like to talk about the things I want to talk about. I want to address the things I want to talk about. Waiting is not really my thing. I like to just jump in, notice what I notice, and get in there. So I am a lone wolf in many regards. I was an only child growing up, so that's probably another indicator of why I like to work alone. But, you know, having collaborations and having features of other astrologers that want to try their hand at sports astrology and jump in, that could definitely be fun. I could definitely see that happening next year, later this year, next season. But for now, until I have a producer to manage all the intricacies of having another person on and hosting it and having it be the same quality and not sacrificing all that, I'll be doing it on me. So thank you so much, all of you, for tuning into these streams, sharing your insights and predictions with me. I've been learning and growing with sports astrology this whole time. There's not much to go on. There are a few key and hidden books out there. I am so appreciative to everyone that sent me information or sent me books or sent me ways that I can improve or ways that I can see things through lenses of people that have already done it. I am a pioneer by nature. I am somebody that likes to blaze their own trails. So it wouldn't surprise me if I came up with a book in the off season about my sports astrology journey and the predictions that I've done. So now that I have a publishing house, you guys just all have to be on notice for all the books that I could potentially publish. I could publish workbooks. I could publish just like a rant book. I could just literally go out and be like, you know what? I'm going to write, a hit list of all the people that have pissed me off over my career and all the different industries and write different chapters about them and publish it myself. Like, these are things that I am able to do. And the more that we keep sharing and growing, like the more that's just going to take off. Once again, the Astrology of 2025 is available on Kindle, on Amazon, and it is currently populating again on Amazon. We are globally publishing our book with Barnes and Noble starting this coming week. So you will see yours truly and the three brilliant astrologers, Amanda, Alessia, and Jamal, that I got to work with. And we will have a best-selling book out soon. This is just the beginning for our marketing program when it comes to this book and the places it'll reach. It'll soon be available globally versus just through Amazon. So some people have ethical concerns with Amazon. Do I get it? Abso-freaking-lutely. I understand. And I was Amazon free for a very long time. I think for like 3 or 4 years, which is a long time in this modern society. So having time away, I definitely am less of a surprise Amazon purchase that I made when I was incoherent the night before. I don't do that as much anymore. There's literally, everything is so intentional with what I do purchase these days. It's like, I'm grateful that Amazon has provided a platform for us to be in the top 10 of astrology books worldwide. That was a definite cool accomplishment, but I'm looking for that number one spot, you know? So I'm definitely got a lot to look forward to, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. It's not that far. I'll see you on the 12th. We're having a full moon live stream for Bryn Whitfield, and we'll be going over her astrology. And that'll be really fun just because I know that when it comes to housewives and the things that they do, not everyone is a huge fan, right? Like, not everyone is going to be like, wow, Gracey, I greatly look forward to you covering all the Real Housewives. But since I cover sports, it's like I might as well cover the housewives too. So why not, right? But if you guys haven't seen it yet, I did share a little bit of an announcement with Bryn's chart being announced, or Bryn's episode being announced. So astrological profile, Bryn Whitfield. She is an Aquarius sun, a Gemini moon, and a Taurus rising. And her Venus is in Capricorn. So this is going to be a very interesting one. When I see planets, especially Venus in Capricorn, it's usually like these people have high standards. They are maybe motivated by status in life. They do appreciate the finer things for sure, but they want their other half to be, able to live up to their standards, able to provide, able to take that journey with them, right? So that is the housewife that I have coming up for Aquarius season. And I will be announcing on Wednesday who my Pisces housewife is. And I'm super excited about this one because this one is somebody that so many people love, and her season's finally coming back soon. And I'm really pumped about it. So I will be talking about the controversial housewife over here, Miss Brynn Whitfield, that has certainly put people in a tailspin with the Real Housewives of New York season 2 finale. The reunion was a little bit better, so I'm definitely hopeful there. But part of doing analysis and part of doing these profiles on people is seeing parts of yourself through them and seeing parts of yourself that might not have been as beautiful. Like I talked about last stream, how I have a Gemini moon and a Pisces Mercury. So does Brynn. The relationship that you have with truth when you have Pisces and Gemini placements might be a little bit different than the actual truth. And that is something that I absolutely had to master in my adult life. And I found out that you can't just start global rumors and then be like, what? I didn't say that. That was definitely my life in the Arabian horse industry, and I totally own up to that. I was working with a lot of people that were gossipy and very much the busybodies of the horse business when I was in the Arabian horse industry, and definitely had some moments where I'm like, oh no, what did I share? That was not actual information that I should be telling people. So yeah, some wild moments have definitely occurred in my life to help me understand those things. Maybe Brynn hasn't had those moments really be public yet, so that could have been really frustrating. So I'm looking forward to clearing the air for all the Pisces Mercuries with Gemini placements out there. We do our best, right? But like part of our relationship with the truth is actually being as authentic and open and detailed as we can be as Pisces Mercury when recalling the truth and things about the truth. So if you've seen The Real Housewives of New York season 2, you understand what I'm talking about. But if you don't, it's okay. So thank you guys all for being here once again. My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology, and I'm so happy to be here one last time this season, celebrating the end of football as well as the beginning of some much needed rest for all people involved in the football world. So it goes down to the towel guys, the water people with the water bottles, and it goes down to the field and equipment guys that are busy every single week. It goes down to the concession stands and the people working in the stadiums, the people driving, the people, everywhere. So this is the grand finale, and people all over the world will be watching. And I'm excited about that. So thank you all for being here. I do want to predict one last thing. I know that SZA is going to be in Kendrick Lamar's halftime show, but I also believe a very large female performer will be coming out on top of that. So we'll see how that goes. We're definitely going to see a fun game tonight, and the commercials are going to be top tier with that Leo rising, a lot of expression happening, and a lot of people in the spotlight that we might not have seen for some time. So very cool, very bold predictions. Chiefs winning by 2 points. If you haven't watched a single Chiefs game all year, you will now know what it's like to have that heart racing activity that the Chiefs provide week after week. So I'm looking forward to it, and I will see you guys on Wednesday with the Housewife Show.